Empty your pockets, now. The Atrian guard's voice was sharp enough to cut through the low roar of the docking concourse. His four-fingered hand was already on the grip of his sidearm, his eyes round and the color of molten copper, locked on Run Malric like a predator deciding whether to strike. I'm carrying the same clearance token I brought for 3 visits, Malric replied, holding the silvered chip between 2 fingers. His tone was calm, measured, the same voice he'd used in war rooms and courtrooms alike. But inside, a wire of tension pulled tight in his gut. The guard didn't take the chip immediately. Instead, he leaned closer, nostrils flaring as if scent could reveal treachery. Behind him, 2 more guards swept scanners across the rest of the Earth delegation, the beams lingering on every clasp, every seam. This wasn't protocol. It was theater. Malric glanced over his shoulder. His aide, Lieutenant Heron, caught his eye and gave the smallest shake of his head. They're looking for a reason. The scanner chimed, but instead of waving them through, the guards formed a loose semicircle, forcing the humans to stand under the cold blue light of the entry gate. Conversations in the concourse thinned. Atrian merchants, travelers, and political staff moved just far enough away to make the humans feel isolated. Unnecessary delay noted for the record, Malric said. His voice was even, but his mind was cataloging. 3 new guard positions, surveillance drones tracking their group more aggressively than usual, and a replacement of the old uniformed greeters with fully armed soldiers. The assembly hall loomed ahead like a cathedral to control, arched metal ribs curving overhead, walls inlaid with shimmering scales from some deep ocean beast. Even after 3 trips here, Malric couldn't decide if the architecture was meant to awe or intimidate. Today it did both. The corridor negotiations had dragged for years. Earth needed that demilitarized trade corridor. Without it, frontier colonies would depend on long, dangerous supply routes. The Atrian Concord knew it, and the hardliners inside their ranks had been using the delay as a weapon. Intelligence briefings before this trip had made it plain. If the moderates didn't get the treaty signed within the month, the hardliners would find a way to make talks impossible. They were running out of calendar, and he suspected patience. The session chamber was a ring of tiered platforms, each one occupied by a different Concord species. The human delegation's platform sat low and central, deliberately within arm's reach of the presiding moderator. Today's agenda was supposed to be about finalizing patrol protocols. It lasted 4 minutes. The door slammed open, rattling the chamber's acoustic panels. A squad of Atrian hardliner security strode in, black armor glistening under the overhead lights. No announcement, no request for order, just the synchronized stomp of boots on the obsidian floor. By order of the High Concord Tribunal, their leader barked, the human delegation is hereby detained for espionage, assassination conspiracy, and destabilization of Concord sovereignty. Gasps rippled through the chamber, but before anyone could challenge the claim, the squad raised their rifles. The first volley hit Ambassador Torvek square in the chest, lifting him out of his seat. Blood sprayed across the curved desk. Malric was already on his feet, but a heavy hand clamped down on his shoulder. Lieutenant Heron's voice was low, urgent. Commander, outside. Now. 2 minutes earlier, Malric had stepped out to take a secure comm from Aegis Dawn about a suspected data mismatch in the Assembly's transmission logs. He hadn't thought much of it, just another line of bureaucratic interference to clear up. Now that mundane step had pulled him out of the kill box. He followed Heron into the side passage they'd mapped weeks ago during the pre-session inspection tour. Maintenance corridors here were a labyrinth. Service ladders, half-lit alcoves, echoing conduits, dripping condensation. The air smelled faintly of burnt ozone from power regulators. Behind them, the chamber erupted in a new storm of gunfire. Malric clenched his jaw. Every shot was another name he'd have to write in a report no one would want to read. They moved quickly but not carelessly, pausing at intersections to listen for patrols. Twice they ducked into shadow as bootfalls approached. Once Atrian, once the heavy tread of a Korath enforcer. Each time, the soldiers passed within meters, their voices carrying the cold certainty of people following a kill order, not an arrest warrant. At the shuttle bay, they found the access sealed. A new sentry post, one that hadn't been there when they had arrived, stood at the far end, manned by 3 guards. Any move toward the bay would be suicide. Malric scanned the space and spotted an automated maintenance skiff gliding toward the docking perimeter. Its guidance lights painted the walls in slow, lazy sweeps of amber. Heron caught his gaze, read the thought immediately. You want to ride a service skiff through an active lockdown? I want to live long enough to send Earth the truth, Malric said. They timed their move to slip behind the skiff as it passed through the gate's sensor sweep. The maintenance crew, busy arguing over a spilled container of coolant, didn't even glance their way. 10 seconds later, they were through the dock's outer choke point and sprinting for Aegis Dawn's auxiliary hatch. From orbit, the capital was a halo of city lights around a deep blue ocean. Beautiful, indifferent. Malric stood at the forward observation port, watching the planet shrink. Below him, somewhere in that glow, the assembly hall was already being sanitized. Bodies removed, bullet patterns erased, security footage rewritten. The Aegis, Dawn's comm station crackled. A Concord-wide broadcast cut through every channel, the voice of a hardliner speaker dripping with authority. Effective immediately, the Concord recognizes no diplomatic agreements with the Human Directorate. You will withdraw from all disputed sectors within 7 cycles, or face total blockade in military enforcement. The crew was silent, not from shock, they'd expected bad news, but from the kind of fury that has nowhere to go yet. Malric exhaled slowly, eyes fixed on the swirl of clouds over the capital. You wanted to end the talks, he thought, not caring if his lips moved, but you just started the war. The war room smelled of coffee and hot wiring. White lights flattened every face. Rune Malric stood at the table's end with his jacket folded over a chair, palms on the surface. The Unified Defense Council took their seats in a hush, broken by chair legs and the clock's tick. Say it, Admiral Corvin said, voice scraped thin. They executed our envoys in session, Malric replied. They blamed us and called it law. If we charge today, we feed their story. A counselor snapped. The colonies want blood. They want safety, Corvin said. Commander, what can we do that counts? Malric brought up a single screen, a timeline, dock schedules, escort routes, a row of waveforms with timestamps. During approach and escort, Aegis Dawn's relay recorded public timing patterns from Concord escorts. Legal capture. No content, only the beat. Beat? Another counselor said. This isn't a concert. It's control, Malric answered. Their fleets hold shape by moving to the same clock. Fire control, interceptors, defense grids, all assume that clock stays clean. We don't need to read messages. If we nudge timing, formations loosen. Corvin tapped the table. How much of a nudge turns shape into slop? Fractions, Malric said. Not a miracle, an opening. An operations officer at the back raised a hand. Rask, he said. I ran quick models. If we introduce drift during a concentrated fight, their intercept windows smear. Missiles arrive off-sync. Interceptors overcorrect. It makes them clumsy. And how do you introduce drift without alarm? The counselor pressed. By letting their logistics help us, Malric said. We seed routine update packets through a neutral port that services Concord convoys. Maintenance checks, transponder calibration. It looks like housekeeping, so their systems accept it. Silence pooled. Aides slid folders. Corvin broke it. If we do this everywhere, they adapt. If we pick one fight, we might turn it. We need them to commit. They will if we threaten the corridor, Malric said. We push a task force into their lanes, look over eager, and let pride pull them in heavy. When they're inside the box, we ease the clock. While they stumble, we cut tethers, tugs, carriers, comm relays, and slip out. You would lead the task force, Counselor Hale said. Yes. You'll be called reckless, Hale warned. If it fails, they'll say you fed crews to a theory. I won't send someone else to carry my risk, Malric said. Corvin watched him for a breath. Through the glass, city noise bled into the windows. A siren, a truck shifting gears. The Admiral nodded once. Proceed. The room became a machine. Maps went up. Choke points appeared along the corridor, tagged with fuel range and comm delay. Officers traded drives and plans. Rask bent over a slate, shaping the drift window. The air warmed. The smell of hot plastic rose. The coffee turned to sludge. Malric paced, answering with plain words. We don't duel their flagships. We hurt what keeps them moving. We look clumsy on purpose, then mean. Questions came sharp. Could the drift window be extended? No. The longer it runs, the louder it looks. Can we fight through if they adjust early? Not head on, cut and run, then draw them again. Hours thinned. Outside the windows the sky paled. Corvin returned with a printed authorization. He slid it across. The paper rasped under Malric's thumb. Task Force Designation Lancer. 2 carrier groups and a frigate screen. Rules of engagement. Hold to corridor boundaries until blindside takes effect. Once it does, sever logistics and disengage. Understood, Malric said. Hale rose. Families expect names, not numbers. Give them both. Give them why. They'll have why, Malric said, and a corridor that stays open. He stepped into the hall. Cooler air met his face. Down on the bay, dawn stained the water, dull copper. He tasted salt in the drafts when doors opened. A streetcar sang. Dock whistles called the shift. His hands stopped shaking. The flight line was awake. He smelled fuel and metal and heat. Hangar doors gaped toward the light. Engines wound up. Crews shouted over the noise. The smell of oil and heated metal clung to everything. Hands moved fast, checking seals, dragging lines, slapping panels. Someone called, "Commander on deck." "At ease," Malric said. He climbed to the briefing platform and looked over the pilots and deck chiefs. "You know what happened planetside. You know the message they sent. We'll answer with work." He pointed to the map on the glass. "These are the lanes. Here, here, and here are narrows that hide ships. We'll move like gamblers, but every step is counted. When they come heavy, and they will, we make them reach. Our goal isn't headlines, it's to take away their rhythm." No one clapped. A deck chief traced a checklist. A pilot rolled his shoulders. A signalman tapped the rail twice. The taste of fuel settled at the back of Malric's tongue. Rask found him near the steps. "We can't rush the drift," he said. "It builds over minutes. The window will be narrow." "How narrow?" "Long enough to make them doubt," Rask said. "Not long enough to get cocky." "Good," Malric said. "I don't want cocky near this." Corvin joined them. "I'll take the blame in public if this looks like retreat. You take the risk in space. Fair trade?" "Fair," Malric said. The first carrier rumbled, deck plates shivering under boots. Malric closed his eyes and let the sound settle. He pictured the assembly doors and the muzzle flashes, the quiet after. He opened his eyes. "Lancer," he said into the mic. "Rig for launch. We move on the hour. Pride will drag them into the corridor. We'll make sure Pride does the rest." He stepped down, boots ringing on the stairs. The plan wasn't revenge. It was work with a blade on it, the kind that cuts once and cuts true. "Bring them back," a pilot murmured. "Bring yourselves back first," Malric said. "Then we'll count who else we can carry." Night aboard the carrier felt thin and wakeful, the kind of darkness that made men check watches and wipe clean sidearms that didn't need it. Run Malric stood in the ops pit with a cup gone lukewarm, watching the corridor map breathe with distant contacts. Below the glass, signal specialists worked with a chess player's focus. Back straight, eyes moving with the rhythm of incoming traces. Rask set a slate on the rail and spoke as if the room itself had ears. "We modeled 6 likely Concord commanders. The hardliner named Varys fits our patterns. Defensive pride around prestige commerce, quick to punish raids that risk headlines." "What tips him over the edge?" Malric asked. "Public attention," Rask said. "He hates losing face. We leak just enough order traffic to make him feel watched. He'll come heavy." Malric tasted the dry bite of recycled air. "Do it. Keep it ordinary. I want them confident, not spooked." The first move was a message written to be overheard. A supply raid against a trade node with a governor who loved parades. The wording was deliberately dull. Tonnage, route numbers, a timeline that looked like human overreach. The leak drifted into channels the Concord always watched, the ones they pretended were secret. Then Lancer moved. Carriers cut across the corridor like skaters on hard ice. Escorts gliding ahead with lights low. Deck crews working in a hush that lived under engine noise. Men worked with quick hands and kept their thoughts to themselves. They hit their first target at dawn, a convoy of bulk haulers with 2 patrol crafts strong on warnings and light on nerve. Malric's fighters went in hard. Strafers clipping drive cones, boarding teams barking through tight band. The fight lasted minutes. Haulers rolled and flashed surrender codes. A patrol craft tried to stand and lost heart when the lead cutter took a warhead to the nose. The decks reeked of oil and seared gasket when the first prisoners came in, wrists bound, breath hot through. Cloth. Keep it clean, Malric told the Marines. They talk more when they're fed. The convoy seizure was the first drum beat. The second was a feint near a trade buoy, rumored to fly the Concord crest during holidays. Lancer fired on the tether, scored it, and broke contact before escorts arrived. The footage was no accident. It drifted back through the same leaky channels, aimed to bruise pride. Rask's crew watched the return traffic with hunter patience. He's moving, Rask said finally, tapping task orders rolling like surf. 2 destroyer groups, then 4. And there, Varys took the flag. How many, Malric asked. 40% of sector strength committed, Rask said. More on standby once we confirm presence. Good, make sure we confirm presence, Malric said, and a tech nearby exhaled a short laugh that died quickly. While the Concord gathered, the other half of the plan threaded its way through an ordinary port on a neutral world where every ship paid docking fees and no one asked questions if the ledger stacked high enough. A courier pushed crates of calibration gear across a greasy floor, while dock workers argued about lunch and overtime. Inside those updates sat the quiet work Rask's team had built. Timing nudges wrapped in maintenance forms, the kind of chores no officer would read closely. The bundles passed scanners, clipped into the logistics queue, and rode out on the same channels that reminded fleets when to check their clocks. Confirmation? Malric asked. Rask didn't look up from his console. Received, processed, and scheduled for distribution. The port thinks it fixed smudge records. They'll brag about catching errors for a week. Malric set down the cup and flexed his fingers until warmth returned. Then we give the Concord a reason to lean on that clock. Skirmishes bloomed as Lancer skirted deep lanes. A picket frigate flashed warnings and got a volley that cracked its spine. The wreck turned in slow circles, shedding panels like leaves. A gunner vomited into a bag after the last blast and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. I'm fine, he muttered. Malric heard the tremor and looked away. Men weren't machines. He wouldn't pretend they were. The next clash was tighter. A Concord squadron cut across the corridor and met Lancer's forward screen head-on. Space lit with tracer fire that looked like welding arcs, bright and unforgiving. Malric gripped the rail as status calls hit the room. Eagle 2 lost a wing. Viper Flight Winchester. Frigate Arrowhead, venting. No, sealed. We're good. A pilot's voice cracked, then steadied with a tone that belonged to youth trying to sound older. I can make the deck. Don't close the door. The carrier took him in on a rough vector. Sparks curled away as skids kissed the deck. The smell of scorched paint and hot brake clamps pushed into the corridor. Rask drifted. Closer. They'll think we misjudged strength, he said. Let them, Malric said. His own voice was too quiet. He raised it. Rotate the forward screen. Show them gaps where they expect them. Save the real brake for the turn. He walked the line down to the flight ready room. Helmets hung like sleeping birds. The air tasted of sweat and cleaner. A pilot sat with his back against a locker, hands wrapped in tape, staring at a picture of a nameless beach. He noticed Malric and started to stand. Malric shook his head. Sit. Tell me what you need. A target I can believe in, the pilot said without ceremony. You'll get one, Malric said. But first I need you to look like you missed on purpose and hate yourself for it. Can you do that? The pilot blinked, then let out a short laugh. That I can sell. By noon ship time, the picture had taken shape. Concord formations accelerating in waves, a commander convinced he had a cornered thief in reach. Lancer pulled back on a gentle curve that looked like exhaustion from too many fights. Measured burns. Shields raised just enough to look scared. The deck plates shivered as engines pushed long and steady. In the galley, soup sloshed. Spoons rattled. Men cursed under their breath and kept working. In the med bay, a corpsman sealed a cut and told a pilot to drink water that tasted faintly of the filter. Rask arrived with a new slate. Their logistics net accepted the update fleet-wide, he said. Distribution complete to Varys' command and the 2 groups flanking. Our window begins when they lock formations for pursuit. When? In 9 minutes, Rask said. Give or take 30 seconds. Malric rolled his shoulders and felt the knots complain. He walked to the bridge, tasted the mineral tang of recycled water again, and let it ground him. Outside, the corridor's stars cut like frost. Bring us to the Narrows, he said. No hero turns. Keep it tired and stubborn. The Concord closed in. Their vanguard fired probing shots that smeared against Lancers' aft shields, flashes that painted bulkheads in quick daylight. Voices on the bridge stayed level. Bearing steady. Range closing. They won our wake. Malric watched the trails on the glass. He didn't see ships. He saw habits. Varys liked straight lines. He liked weight where the cameras could see it. He liked to prove doctrine in front of an audience. Commander, Rask said, eyes on a timer. Formations locked. How long to the cut? 2 minutes to show. 5 to feel like a curse, Rask said. Malric nodded once, then leaned into the mic. Lancer, this is Malric. We're going to look like we're bleeding. You'll want to fix it. Don't. Hold your lanes. If you have to pick between glory and orders, pick orders. He cut the channel and let the ship carry him through the turn. The Narrows rose ahead like a canyon drawn in. Starlight. A place where room ran out and choices narrowed with it. Behind them, Varys pushed his armada harder. Engines flaring, pride pulling like a rope. Alarms chimed soft reminders. The deck quivered. Fear dried the mouth, whether men admitted it or not. Malric swallowed and fixed his eyes on the trails. The envelope waited, invisible and final, and he stepped them into it with a steady hand. The first sign was a miss. A Concord interceptor fired too soon, its defensive burst flaring at empty darkness while our decoys slid past and kissed a cruiser's flank. Counterfire scraped our shields. Straps tightened. Someone muttered a prayer that sounded like a checklist. Run Malric kept his tone steady. Hold lanes. Retreat in steps. No hero turns. The taste of copper edged his tongue. Fear wanted to run ahead of him, and he wouldn't let it. Rask watched numbers settle. Their clock's slipping, he said. Expect late corrections. They came like stumbles in a dance. 2 frigates drifted into each other's wake and lost their arc. A missile screen opened too early and left a gap we walked through without bragging. Stagger to second mark, Malric ordered. Engines answered. The ship moved without show. The Narrows ahead funneled the enemy into a neat column that wobbled if you stared. Burnt wiring and heated paint salted the air. On the flank, a destroyer slid wide to cut our tail. Timing drift turned its crossfire into a lone spray. Our aft shield drank without complaint. He'll try again, Malric said. Let him chase. Signal the reserves. 2 minutes. Across the corridor, minor moons threw shelters where sensors read only static. From those shadows came Earth's hidden groups like knives from cloth. They didn't announce themselves. Running lights stayed low until they were among the soft targets that make an armada possible. Reserve 1 engaging, a calm voice reported. First tug cut. Reserve 2 in position, another said. Going for carriers. Each clipped sentence was a rope being sliced. Malric waited for the counter and got pride, right on time. Varys hurled a wing back to cover his assets. Doctrine perfect, timing rotten. Fighters reached the right place at the wrong instant, and our Lancers slid past to snap antenna spines on comm relays that had stitched 10 formations into one mind. Gaps forming, Rask said. We can press. Not yet, Malric said. Make them furious first. He crossed to PsyOps. 2 linguists sat pale-knuckled at their mics. Ready? Blend is tight, the lead said. They'll hear a client fleet begging for cover. Keep it ragged, Malric said. New troops, shaky officer, too many details. Bearings that point them away from us. The message went out as a desperate plea in a clipped hybrid tongue. Cutters among our carriers, request cover, now, now. Static chewed the end. It leaned on a rumor that had dogged hardliners. Outside hands meddled and clients faltered. The effect was instant. A detachment peeled off toward a phantom bearing. Another broke formation to guard side lanes that existed only on old charts. They're arguing on command net, Rask said. Stagger to third mark, Malric ordered. Keep the bottleneck, no trophies. Iron Veil rolled into the next step. The hull sang with stress. Sweat ran down a helmsman's temple. He didn't wipe it. Range closing on their vanguard, a tech called. Good, Malric said. I want their eyes on us. Reserve 3 checked in from the far side. Last carriers targeted. Fighters loose but blind. A beat later, target down. A console popped. Foam hissed. The smell lingered. Varys pushed harder. His flagship threw a broadside that rattled lockers and knocked a crewman to a knee. He buckled back in with a quiet curse. Panels flickered, steadied. Malric keyed the net. All ships, 2 more minutes. Then we cut. Iron Veil holds until you're clear. Rask glanced up. You'll draw their front. That's the job, Malric said. Ready the decoys. The PsyOps crew sent one more burst, not a plea but a clipped order in that blended voice. Second Fleet, divert to cover retreat. Priority carriers. Plausible enough to sting. 3 wings jerked away like dogs to a whistle, opening a lane our reserves used to finish tugs. Without tugs, cripples became anchors. Friendly fire increasing, Rask said. They're tagging their own drones. Reserves, Malric called. Execute exit plan. Take your lanes home. If your choice is saving us or saving your fuel, save your fuel. He cut the channel and walked the bridge once. Outside the glass, the corridor went feral. Flares, dead metal tumbling, arcs of fire that made no sound. Decoys away, the weapons officer said. Packages sprinted from our stern, heat and light shaped like ships we didn't have. Now, Malric said. Engines bit hard. Iron Veil shook as if something huge tried to hold her still. The helmsman wrestled drift into a straight line. Behind us, the vanguard chose wrong. Their shots carved through emptiness where our echoes had been, then through 2 of their own interceptors a fraction off lane. Exit lane open, navigation called. Go! Malric told the reserves on tight beam. Contacts winked out as groups hit prearranged jumps or slipped behind rock and shadow. Iron Veil stayed, a single target in a sky full of anger. Malric let the noise wash over him and thought of the assembly chamber, faces right before the first shot. You're not getting my people, he said under his breath. A heavy strike rolled toward them. Brace, the helmsman said. The hit came like a shove that set teeth on edge. Lights dropped to back up, then returned. Shields holding, someone breathed. Rask lifted his head. Window closing. They're starting to correct. Then we're done, Malric said. Shipwide. You did your work. Now we leave. To the helm. Slow enough to look wounded. Quick enough to live. Iron Veil pivoted like an old fighter remembering footwork. On the display, Varys's formation writhed. Still dangerous, still large, but less a fist and more a crowd. Behind the vanguard, dead tugs drifted. Beyond them, carriers shed debris that flashed and went cold. Course laid in, navigation said. On your mark. Malric drew a breath. He looked at his crew, grease on sleeves, a nick at a hairline. Steady eyes. Mark, he said, and the ship slid into the exit lane while the trap closed behind. The corridor fell quiet, the kind after hard noise. Wreckage drifted, edges flashing cold light. Concord formations unraveled, wings sheared from their flags, captains spoke over one another, and some cut transmissions and ran. Rune Malric stood on Iron Veil's bridge among scuffed panels, listening as crew voices settled into work. Reserves clear, Rask reported. Our groups are on egress routes or tuck per plan. Tugs are gone. Carriers are burning or black. Detachments are retreating on 3 vectors with no shared command. Any chase with teeth? Malric asked. Minimal, Rask said. Varys is arguing with his escorts. He's hitting shadows the decoys left. Then we're finished here, Malric said. He swallowed stale coffee and wished it were water that didn't taste like the ship. Plot exit, hold the net, no speeches. Iron Veil eased off the field with a patient burn that made the deck sing. In med, a corpsman tightened a sling and told a pilot to breathe with the count. In the galley, a cook scraped pans and set bowls on a line, as if hands could keep what they had won from slipping. Rask arrived at the forward port with a handheld clutched close. Blindside left fingerprints, he said. Their retreat scattered mirror copies of assembly storage. We can follow the drift into those mirrors. If the chamber footage exists, we can lift it. Risk? Malric asked. Moderate, Rask answered. We ride the error. If alarms rise, we cut. Do it, Malric said. No glory. Just get it. They turned a map room into a den of screens and cables. The air warmed as processors ate power. The ship's vibration sat underfoot. Rask's team worked with the clipped murmur of people who know better than to boast. Hours stretched, then a day shook itself out in cold coffee and sore backs. Malric walked the decks with a cup he never finished, memorizing scratches and dents that proved cost. "Commander," Rask called at last, voice raw. "We have it." On the screen, the chamber appeared at a skewed angle, filmed by a camera bolted for utility, not drama. Doors burst, rifles rose. The killing was a procedure, not a frenzy. Audio carried the brittle edge of orders given and obeyed. A moderator tried to speak and was silenced mid-word. Malric watched without blinking and tasted the dry bite of fear from that hallway he had escaped. "Copy everything," he said. "Every stamp and time mark. Seal chain of custody. We don't argue, we show." 3 days of cleaning followed. Editors straightened angles, synced audio, and captioned names and ranks without heat. When the package was ready, Corvin appeared on secure link. "You're certain," the Admiral said. "I am," Malric answered. "Then we end it." The broadcast went out on channels the Concord could not scrub. Port boards, market tickers, entertainment feeds, crawls on shop fronts. Workers froze. On neutral worlds, captains stood alone in rooms that smelled of oil and watched officials commit murder with bureaucracy's calm. The argument ended in seeing. Hardliners shouted forgery. Technicians inside their own systems quietly posted checksum proofs that matched our release. Within a week, neutral worlds froze Concord accounts. Client species refused patrol orders. 2-member polities censured Varys by name. Moderates stepped forward with words that held, "We cannot serve those who fire on envoys." Corvin returned with a paper folded twice in a steadier voice. "They want terms." "Confession?" Malric asked. "Responsibility by faction," Corvin said. "Hardliners removed from command. A corridor, neutral on paper, with patrols contracted to us. Reparations through freight guarantees." "We accept," Malric said, "and we watch." The signing took place in a plain hall that smelled of polish and fresh ink. No banners, no orchestra, just chairs scraping, pens moving, and a stamp that knocked once and was enough. Outside, wind moved along the water and pushed salt into the room's corners. It felt like breath after a held dive. Back on base, the council planned a parade with brass and cameras. Corvin found Malric in a narrow office that carried a hint of dust no cleaner could lift. "Front car, center stage," or the Admiral said. "No," Malric replied. "Give it to the pilots who flew with dry tanks and still came home. Give it to deck crews who kept the landing lights honest when hands shook. Give it to the cook who never let the line go cold." "You'll refuse a medal?" Corvin asked. "I'll take orders," Malric said. "Frontier Command. I want the corridor." Corvin studied him and finally nodded. "Approved." Within days, Malric took command of a patrol ship named Night River, a lean vessel with engines that sounded like a promise kept. The deck smelled of new paint and machine oil. He ran a palm along the rail and felt the chill of metal beginning to learn the warmth of touch. The crew spoke in low tones. Convoys formed, then flowed, grain carriers, med barges, ore ships. They entered the corridor and kept to speed under Night River's watch. On the bridge, Malric sipped tea gone cool and listened to the small music of a ship working well, status pings, chair wheels, a distant clatter from the galley. The ordinary felt like victory. He filed the final report that closed the case on the massacre and the brief war it had started. He typed the last line with plain fingers. "Negotiation isn't over, only the belief it must be conducted unarmed." That night at the corridor's edge, 4 freighters passed in a staggered line. Their lights winked like porch lamps across a quiet road. Malric breathed ship air tinged with spice and felt knots loosen in his shoulders. Rask joined him with 2 cups. "Quiet," Rask said. "For once," Malric answered. "Think it holds?" "It holds because men keep it," Malric said. "That's enough." They watched the final freighter clear the marker and disappear into lawful dark. The corridor stayed open. The matter was finished. If this story had you gripping your seat, Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more pulse-pounding HEFY battles and cunning strategies. Now we want to hear from you. If you were in Commander Malric's place, what bold move would you make to bring an enemy fleet to its knees without firing the first shot? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one. Thanks for watching Stellar HFY. See you in the next story.